Let me give you to date, the most creative word for the year I've heard. It's this year. Okay, somebody gave it to me this year. Their word for the year. I thought they were joking when they first told me, but they were dead serious. So I had to hear the story out a little bit. But their word for the year is Elsa. Elsa. Okay. You're right. You're thinking about the movie Frozen potentially. Yes. Okay. Their word for the year is Elsa. At first, I thought they were joking. So I paused a little bit. I had to just kind of get like a full understanding of the word. They just really sense part of what God's inviting them into this year with so much going on in their life is to just let it go. And I know, right? I mean, that's real. I mean, come on, somebody. I mean, that's rich, right? That might be more spiritual than a lot of our spiritual sounding words. I both laughed and had conviction in the same conversation. It was like, that's it. So, hey, I'm really glad you're here. For those of you joining online, thanks for being a part of the day. To those of you in the room, bonus. Come on, somebody. It's cold out. It's cold, and you came, and if you stayed home just because it was cold, I still love you, okay? But glad that you're here. I want to just, before we jump into this message, give you an invite. We've talked about this a little bit, but if you're on a ministry team or are on the way to getting on a ministry team, I want to invite you to come and be a part of Discover Lunch. That's where you would have gone to get on a ministry team, to our Inspire event, which is coming up on February 8th, Saturday, February 8th. And really, this is just a couple hours one morning where our whole aim is really just to do, it says, just to inspire you, to encourage you. We're not asking for anything back. It's become one of our biggest and most kind of a highlight event for us over the last few years. We've got a guest speaker coming in by the name of Mac Lake. I'm really excited for you to get to meet Mac and Mac to get to meet you. He's had a really significant influence on our staff and on some of you without you even knowing it, just kind of through third and fourth person discipleship processes. And so it's going to be an incredible morning. You can RSVP by using the link there on the screen. Just scan the QR code and it'll get you there. So again, if you're on a ministry team or you're like, hey, I just said I want to get on a ministry team, that's great. Just like RSVP for that and come. We want to spend a couple hours together. And again, not going to ask anything from you, just give things to you, have things for you in that day. Today, I want to invite you to jump right to a passage. I want to get right into a scripture today. It's Joshua chapter 3. Joshua chapter 3, Old Testament of your Bible. It's really the Lord trying to build this people of His, the nation of Israel. And if you've been around Journey any length of time, you might kind of pick up that, man, this is one of John's favorite passages, and it really is. The early stages of Joshua, there's a few places that when in doubt, I go back to, and this is one of them. Just so many times, I've probably preached from this passage more at Journey than anything except maybe John 10:10, which is kind of what we rally around, everything around. But in Joshua 3, you get this transition in leadership that's happened. Moses had led the Israelites for a really long time. Moses had passed away. Joshua is the new leader. And they are standing, the people of Israel are standing at the edge of the Jordan River, which, just for a little bit of context, the Jordan River, it's a big river. It's way more than just a little creek that somebody could jump over. It's a really wide river. It's deep. At the time we're going to read the story, it's at flood stage. So it's significant. It's a significant body of moving water, okay? And they're standing there, and on the other side of this Jordan River is what is all throughout the Bible is called this promised land. It's this land that God has set aside for the Israelites. He's like, this is what I want to be home for you. This is where I really want to invite you to live. I've created this land for you. And really through disobedience and through distraction and through looking away from God, it's taken them literally generations to get here, hundreds of years to get to this point. Hundreds of years. Countless generations have passed since the first time God said, this is the land I have for you, to get to the people who are actually standing now on the edge of this really significant crossing across this really big, wide, deep river. That's all that stands between them and this promised land. And so when we pick up, they're there, they're camping around it. I want to look just at the first handful of verses. I want to see how they do this. I think this is, we're going to encounter something really early that I think is a constant invitation to followers of Jesus, including people like us in groups like this. Joshua chapter 3, we'll start in verse 1. It says, early in the morning, Joshua and all the Israelites set out from Shittim, and they went to the Jordan where they camped before crossing over. After 3 days of camping there, you can kind of think probably trying to prepare themselves, get a plan. How are they going to get across here? How are they going to navigate it? Do they really have a way? Are they sure of the way? Do they feel good about the plan? There's probably some early adopters who are like, let's just swim for it. And there's some late adopters who are like, no, let's just wait for the next season. Let's wait for the dry season, okay? This is flood. So there's all these people. And so for 3 days, you can imagine all the conversations that are happening. Verse 3, the officers, the leaders, they go out and they give orders to the people. They say, when you see the Ark of the Covenant, which in the Old Testament of your Bible, that's where the presence of God was housed and kept. This is before Jesus comes to earth and then gives us his Spirit to be with us at all times and all places. When you see the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord your God and the Levitical priest carrying it, you're to move out from your positions and follow it. Follow it. We're going to go. We're going to make this crossing. Verse 4, then you will know which way to go because you've never been this way before. Some of you today, you are standing on the edge of something that is compelling to you and it's exciting to you, but if you have a hesitance, it's that you've never been this way before. Because when you've never been this way before, it can be nerve-wracking. It can be unsettling. It can ignite a little bit of fear or hesitancy. It can ignite the skepticism of your family, and they're like, oh, what are you possibly thinking about, right? But you're standing someplace, you've never been this way before. So he's like, follow the Lord in the presence of the Lord. Now keep a distance of about 2,000 cubits between you and the ark. Don't go near it, just follow it. Verse 5, Joshua told the people, consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do, I love this, check out these next two words, do you see them? For tomorrow the Lord will do, what does it say?
Amazing things.
Come on, somebody, amazing things. Now, we can describe a lot of things as amazing. And a lot of events and people and competitions and accomplishments get described as amazing, right? I like to read. I don't know how many books I've handed to somebody and said, this is amazing, okay? I've probably ruined the word, okay? They did an amazing job. Did you see that? That was amazing. Now, it's a good word. It's a good word. I don't want to belittle the word. But the word that Joshua uses is a little bigger than that. It's a little bigger than we hear it. The word that Joshua uses describes to these Hebrew people in this Hebrew language things that only God could do. These aren't humanly amazing. They are supernaturally amazing. Joshua is describing moments, events that are to come, steps that are to come, as only God. He says, you're going to see some things that are so remarkable that when you see them, you will actually, the only thought you will be able to have is, only God. Only God could have done that. You're going to see and experience some things that when you think about them later and you tell the story, you're not going to be able to explain it with a math equation. You're not going to be able to explain it with a physics understanding. You're not going to be able to, you're going to have to only God. Only God. Now, just let's think about it for a second. Wouldn't it be cool if your life was marked by only God moments? For some of you, they are, right? You've got one story or two, or you've got dozens, right? If you're here today and you're a follower of Jesus, you may have lost track of this, but your salvation is an only God experience. You can't save yourself. You can't save your friend. You can't save your neighbor. That's an only God moment. One of the things I love about being a part of a community like this, one of the cool things is that we get to watch only God experiences. We get to watch heartache, but we also get to watch only God experiences. We get to watch marriages that are on the brink of divorce because of addictions and brokenness, and sometimes abuse, and sometimes unfaithfulness, when it looks like there's no way. And yet we get to look at it 5 and 6 and 7 and 10 and 15 years later, and marriages are still together and sometimes thriving and not perfect, but moving. And you look back and think, only God. Only God. That's only God. We get to look at some of the people we love who at one point who were so far from God and so distant from God, now following him with this ruthless, reckless devotion. And we think, oh man, that only God. Only God. There's only God. It's the only way that happens. We get to watch people, like a guy named Paul, who's part of our Middleville location. We get to watch him be healed of cancer. And doctors say to him, we got nothing. We got nothing. We've never quite seen it that way before. We got nothing. We don't really know what you believe, but we got nothing. Hey, friends, that's only God. That's only God. You don't explain it. It's beyond us. It goes beyond medicine. It goes beyond all of that, right? We get to watch not just moments, but long-haul experiences, like with our young friend Timmy, who's part of this location. And a couple years ago, Timmy was in just a tragic accident with his sister. And Timmy in the hospital, they thought at best he would never walk again and likely be a vegetable. And now he runs cross country, is active, healthy, vibrant, much against the odds he was given in the moment. Hey, friends, that's only God. You can't explain that. Doctors don't explain that in a way that fully makes sense. They gave great care, but that's only God. That's only God. Several months ago, we had a night of worship. We've had a couple of those over the last few years, and some of you have been a part of those. And at one of those, we talked about healing and just preparing to hey, what would it be like if God really did heal all diseases? And if that's what he says, what if we believe that? And we invited people to move for prayer. And one gal, before she could even move, before she got out of her seat, she's sitting right over here, before she got out of her, could be your seat, Steve, could be you today, okay? Whatever, before she could move, she experienced God healing her knee that had been bothering her for years, and she had been through doctor to doctor after doctor, physical therapy after physical therapy, nothing working. And she leaves a night of just worship and praise healed, put back together. That's only God. That's only God. That's it, right? That's it. You can't explain it, right? You can't explain it. Some of you have been around Journey long enough to know that we have a Middleville location, and at that location, right before we launched it in 2017, we had a fire. And that building that we had been in this renovation process burned completely to the ground, and then we went through this long process to get it built back up again. But it was a completely devastating fire, and when we finally got it rebuilt in the way it is now, and it kind of sits up off of M37, and you can see it from the road going by. And after we'd been in a little bit, there was a gal named Alanis who was driving by it. And while she was driving by it, she looked at it and saw that it was a building, saw that it was a church, but saw what appeared to be something glowing around it. So not churched, not locked in with Jesus, she decides to go there. Begins to experience this radical life transformation with Jesus, brings her family, who begins to experience this radical life transformation with Jesus, who brings more of their family, who begins to, right? That's only God. We don't have fluorescent paint on that thing. Okay, it's only God. It's only God. That's what Joshua's talking about. He's like, hey, look, if you'll If you'll watch, you're going to see only God expressions. If you'll watch. But he does give them a couple of things that prepare them for it. He gives them a couple things where he's like, hey, to get yourself ready, I want to show you something. Look back at verse 5. Look back at verse 5 again, okay? And you'll see the beginning of just how this whole thing plays out. He says, Joshua told the people, consecrate yourself. Consecrate yourself, because then that's when you'll see amazing things. God will do the God-only thing. You consecrate yourself. And consecrate yourself, it very simply means this. You offer your whole self to God. You surrender your whole self. You make your whole self available. You put your whole self on the line. You put all your ambitions, all your fears, all your dreams. Don't try and clean them up. Don't try and package them. Don't try and alter them. Don't try and make them sound better than they are. You take them because God in a God-only way can handle that. He can process that. But consecrate yourself, offer yourself with all humility and all surrender. If you will make yourself fully available to God, he will do an only God thing. There is this atmosphere or this soil in which God does his best work. It's the atmosphere or the soil of the fully surrendered heart. The fully surrendered heart. It's the consecrated heart. That's all Joshua's saying to the people. He's like, hey, consecrate yourselves. And with yourselves, that means everything you have. Consecrate, offer yourself to God, offer your tent, offer the cooking utensils you've been carrying around in the wilderness, offer your sandals that you've been in for over a generation and they haven't worn out, which that's an only God thing. Like, what? Offer, just offer all you have. Offer your family and this tribe you've been traveling with, offer your fears, offer the pictures and the dreams you have about what the promised land could actually look like and what it's going to be like. Offer that, just consecrate yourself. That's where some of us are. Desperate for a God only. So surrender on ourselves. God, consecrate. Where are you at today in that? Like, is there something you wish God would do? And maybe you hear God inviting you into that. Not because you haven't been, but because he's inviting you to stay there. Continue in it. Keep trusting. Keep consecrating. Keep going. Keep moving. Keep surrendering. You're not doing it wrong, but there's this great fight that's happening, and every move of your consecration tilts the fight a little more in your direction. It tilts the scale a little more for you. Consecrate yourself. Consecrate yourself. How good is that? God doesn't say, hey, if you want to see something amazing, I want you to go do these 8 things. I want you to memorize this. I want you to recite this. I want you to build this. I just consecrate yourself. And whatever I invite you to do, just do that. Whatever I invite you to do, just do that. Might not make sense, might make perfect sense, but just do that. Just do that. Don't disqualify it because it seems too obvious, and don't disqualify it because it seems too weird. Just do that. That's all he's really asking. Like, would you like make yourself just more available to me than you ever have before? And that's one part. But then he wants to give the action, right? Like, what's the action? So I want to invite us to jump all the way down to verse 13. Verse 13. And he says this. So you get ready. And as soon as you see the priests who are carrying the ark, remember God had said, like, follow the ark, like, be aware. Where's my presence? And move there. Wherever that is, go there. And if you get a little distracted, you get out, just come back. Get back, right? As soon as you see the priests who carry the ark of the Lord, the earth, set foot in the Jordan. Its waters flowing downstream will be cut off and stand up in a heap. You might notice there an only God description of something that's going to happen. Most of us have not put our foot in Lake Michigan and watched the water start piling up in a heap somewhere. But he's like, hey, look, when the priests set their foot in the water is going to stop. It's going to pile up in a heap. Did the priests do that? No. But a consecrated group of people moving in faith created the space for that to happen. Now, the set foot thing is a little interesting because it doesn't mean what you and I might often do when we get around water that we're considering getting in. If you do go to Lake Michigan and you just wonder, like, am I going to get in today? You might test the water first with just your toe, right? You just test the toe, just a little bit in. Like we do it with pools, we do it with the bathtub, we do it with the hot tub. Like, can I just get a little feel? Like just put your toe in a little bit, right? And that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. I got a toe in. But the people, they're invited to set their foot in. And again, this picturesque language that the Hebrews often use, what God's really saying is, hey, what I want you to do is I want to put your heel down. I want you to put your whole foot in. Like, put your heel down. Step in. This isn't testing the water. This is not testing the water. This is stretching your faith. This isn't testing the water. This is trusting the God of the God only. This isn't testing the water and the temperature and what would happen. This is, before I see anything that happens, I'm going to put my heel down. That's a step, right? That's a step. I'm not testing the water. I'm not testing the temp. I'm not testing the soil under the water. I'm not testing how fast it'll stop and pile up in a heap. Right? I'm going to put my heel down. And this is so important for so many reasons. One is that God knows what's coming on the other side of that river. When the Israelites cross this Jordan and get to their promised land, if you continue to read the story, when they get there are 33 enemy kings and people groups waiting for them. They have 33 significant battles still in front of them. So this is strength building, faith building, trust building, obedience building, confidence building, God showing off building. It's like put your heel down. Quit dabbling, quit testing, quit wondering, put your heel down. And once you put your heel down, after following the fact, once your heel is on the ground, God only moments can start to happen. Put your heel down. And then the waters are gonna pile up. And the priests are gonna go first, and you're gonna grow on dry ground. And when you grow on, like you're moving across, and the water's heaped up, you might be experiencing the goodness of God and still be a little nervous, and so you might scurry across. You might run a little bit. Others might just bask in it and stand there and stare at it for a second. It's not explainable. There's no camera, there's no phone, you can't take a picture, you're trying to take it in so you can explain it later. You know you're never going to forget it because it's a God-only experience. It's God only. It's God only. They happen to be living one that makes no sense. A river's at flood stage. I'm just going to have you put a foot in and walk across. Yes, it's over your head. Yes, it's running fast. It'll be all right. Just go ahead. Just go ahead. Just go ahead. I don't know. I don't think that was a great moment to be a priest having to go first. I'm happy to be a quick follower in that moment. But somebody goes for it. Some bodies go for it. Let me just ask you this. In your life right now, where are you standing on the edge of a crossing? And would you consecrate yourself? Maybe for the first time, would you just say, here's all of me. Here's all of me. Here's everything I've tried to cling to, everything maybe I've tried to steer or manipulate or move. Here's everything that I've hesitated on, just out of fear and being uncertain. Here's everything I've tried. Like, Where are you at? Would you just lay all that? Would you surrender all that? God, would you even acknowledge to God, God, it's so hard for me to lay it all out there. It's so hard for me to let go of all this. It's so hard to make a choice and a move and surrender. Just own it. Part of consecrating ourselves to God is acknowledging what's hard to consecrate. Right? If we won't tell him what's hard to consecrate, then we're not really putting all of ourselves out there. Should we just put ourselves out there? Do some of us know where we would need to put our heel down? We already have a sense that this is the right step, and we've maybe hopefully gotten some good counsel, and we've gotten some good direction, and we've got people speaking into our life, and they're confirming what we think we're hearing. It's like, okay, heel down. Heel down. Where's that at for you? Where's that at for you? Where's that at for you? Erica and I, really our family, we're in a little bit of a heel down moment. We're in a little bit of a here we are. We put a heel down. For the last year or so, Eric and I have been talking a lot and processing a lot. This growing restlessness we've experienced, this growing kind of rattling around of things inside of us. And at the same time we've been experiencing that, part of what has been revealing in this restlessness is also been the birth of the growth of new dreams and new thoughts and new visions about some things that maybe could be. And when we started experiencing all that, it didn't make a lot of sense. It was really hard to sort out. And so we did the very thing that I hope you do in moments like where you're standing at the edge of a crossing. We got tons of counsel. We talked to multiple long-term mentors, people who know us well and can help often sort hearts and thoughts and put clarity to our words and our expressions. We talk to friends who know us well, and have a lot of permission to speak into our life. Even talk to a counselor, counsel from a counselor, just to try and help sort this out. And that experience led to this unique mixing bowl of emotions that comes with the understanding that our time at Journey is coming to a close. That we're reaching the end of our time in this capacity and in this role and with this incredible group of people. And that led to a conversation in late August with my boss, a guy by the name of Chris Conrad, who many of you would be familiar with. He's preached here many times over the years. And I went to Chris, and we just kind of entered into a resignation process during that conversation. And Chris was incredibly gracious and supportive. And in that moment, I just submitted to him. I have incredible trust in him. He's a just ruthlessly devoted follower of Jesus and a spirit-filled leader that has been very good to me and very good to Journey over the years. And he leads kind of our network of churches that are spread across 3 states. And so in that conversation, I just submitted to him and I said, hey, you're my leader. You're my spiritual covering. You set the timeline, and I'll submit to whatever you think is best for Journey going forward. And he said, hey, could you and Erica, do you think you could stay through sometime in May? And again, this was late August. We said, of course. We're not trying to sprint out a door. But yeah, we can, of course, stay to May, which makes lots of sense in the way church years work around here. And so we engaged in that conversation, left that conversation with him, and under his guidance and under his direction. We needed to hold that to just the two of us for a while the four of us, the four Allens. And then in late November, early December, we were able to start telling a really small circle of people about that. And chief among those people was our advisory team. There are 6 members on our advisory team here at Journey right now. And I was able to get to each of them one-on-one or sometimes with their spouse, depending on how schedules were working, and able to share with each of them throughout the month and dodging holidays and all of that. And then this past Monday, a guy named Jack Lynn, who many of you would also be familiar with Jack. Jack actually worked on our staff in an interim role for about 18 months at one point, helping our staff realign when we were experiencing like a unique season of growth at Journey and trying to figure out how to steward that really well. And Jack has invested a ton into our staff. Jack has also preached here, and a lot of trust in Jack. And Jack in our region works with churches like Journey in transition, like the one that we're entering into. And on this past Monday, he met with our advisory team to just talk about what does it look like going forward, how does this process work, and it's a super deliberate process of discernment and just sensing and finding God's will for what's next. And that was Monday. Wednesday, we were able to share with the staff who we hadn't had a chance to talk to yet, and Thursday night, we were able to spend some time with a group of people that they're just heroes to me. We were able to spend some time with the 20 or so people that are at Journey still and were part of our original launch team 18 years ago. Those are heroic people. Those are absolute heroes. And so we were able to just spend some time with them and share with them and also reminisce a little bit and go down memory lane a little bit. And so that's where we are right now. Now, what I want to say to you, and this is just a couple of things. I want to tell you a little bit where we are and kind of how we get here and what we think is next a little bit. First, I just want to be really clear. Nobody's making us leave. Nobody asked us to leave. We're not leaving because we're mad at somebody. It's nothing like that, okay? There's no moral failure. There's no hidden story. I'm not burned out. It's none of those things. And I understand that while we share things like this, like for some of you, there's some shock, and maybe for some, there's some sadness, and there might be for a couple of you some sense of relief. Don't tell me if that's you. I don't want to know. But for us, there is a blender kind of emotions and thoughts we've been living in our experiencing. One is grief. We love you. We love this. We love what we've had an opportunity to be a part of for 18 years. We love it. We love it. And so the thought of stepping out of it it's a little bit challenging. We don't really know anything else. And so there's some grief. Journey's a great place. You're a great group of people. You're amazingly generous and kind and loving and mission focused and locked in on so many of the right things. And so for Eric and I, it's a tough thing to process. For our girls in a different way, they're in a different season of life, and but even for them, you've loved them really well for 18 years, and we're really grateful for that. There is also some excitement about the growing vision of what's next for us. I've had this growing dream and growing desire to engage in a couple different things. One of them, the primary one, is just to find some ways and pockets to invest uniquely in pastors. In many ways, in the ways I've been fortunate enough to receive from people and other pastors and other leaders over 30 years of ministry, and it's come in ways that have helped keep me healthy and helped keep me mission focused and helped keep me rejuvenated or rejuvenate me when the batteries were really low. And after 30 years of being largely on the receiving end of that, as little pockets have opened up for me to give that back, the dream has grown to do it in a more concentrated way. This is probably true in a lot of arenas. I don't want to overplay anything, but it's never been harder to be a pastor in our slice of the world than it is right now. It's never been harder. And if I can have a small part in helping some men and women in ministry stay healthy, stay mission focused, and be rejuvenated when they need it, I want to do it. I want to do it. I've been on the receiving end of it, which means by default, you have to. You have to. And so I'm excited about that. And with that grief and that excitement, candidly, there is a lot of uncertainty. We don't exactly know what it looks like. I don't have another job lined up. I'm not going to another church. We don't know. It's very unknown. Very unknown what it looks like. And that's where we're having to put our heel down. The water's still flood stage and flowing pretty strong, and we're having to put our heel down and say, okay, if we really think God has invited us in this, we got to put our heel down. And we've never wanted to be a family that gave lip service to trust and follow Jesus, and now it's just one of those times where it's like, okay, put your heel down and put your money where your mouth is, dude. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And among the people we've been able to tell, sometimes I've said that, and the question right back is, okay, yeah, but what's your next job? I'm just going to repeat, I don't know. I'm just like, we're just trusting that God will lead and orchestrate and guide to what that is and what that will be in the days ahead. So we're living with all of those. A lot of grief, a lot of excitement, boatloads of uncertainty. And in some ways, maybe you are too. Maybe around this news or maybe around something that's much more significant in your world. And the invitation for all of us is wherever that is, to put a heel down. Now, I want to say one more thing, and then I'm going to invite Joe, who's going to make one of the most adept moves from playing the keys to coming out here with me. Joe Dexter is actually part of our advisory team, and he's going to just come and share on their behalf for a minute. But what I want to say is this: I know that many of you, you have a church history that would include some very unhealthy moments like this, or unhealthy processes going forward. And what I want to just say is two things. Number one, I'm sorry for that. Those are real experiences. They're real experiences. And I am sorry for that. And what I want to encourage you to do, because the temptation might be right now to hear me and run. But I want to invite you to stay. And maybe let a healthy process be part of your healing. Just maybe a healthy process would be part of your healing. Not a perfect process, okay? We're not perfect humans, but a healthy process. I know it's challenging, but I really want to invite you to take it a little bit like we're experiencing it, and that is as a Jesus shaping us process. That's really what it is. So I want to invite you into that. I know it's a courageous thing, and I know it's maybe a little bit of a bold ask in a moment like this. I'm going to invite Joe to share again, just on behalf of our advisory team. There are 6 people on our team currently. You can find all their pictures on our website if you're wondering, and who they are. And we have somebody on our team sharing in Middleville right now as well, a little bit in the same capacity. But Joe's going to share with us a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and just help us finish our time together. So, Joe, thanks, man.
Thank you, John. Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, beyond being the big bald guy who plays keyboard behind Pastor John, my name is Joe Dykstra. In addition to playing keyboard, I lead a men's small group on Tuesday mornings, and I also serve on the advisory team. If you guys aren't super familiar with what the advisory team is, it's a group of individuals from Journey who meet with Pastor John on a really regular basis to serve as a sounding board, to cover our staff in prayer and discernment, and to sign off on really big decisions, things like budgets, ministry initiatives, and also human resources things. As Pastor John shared, he recently met with us and just shared his sense of calling into a new phase of his ministry. We've all had a little additional time to kind of sit in that. And, to be honest, as we met this week, a lot of us just came to this real sense of peace and full support for Pastor John in this decision. We really believe this is a thing from God. We're unbelievably grateful for you, John, in the ways that you've led this church, and just for the unwavering commitment that you've shown both to God, following him, to your family, and to your ministry here. Just even in the face of this transition, it's so clear to us that you want to leave us well, and you want us to set us up for what God has in store for us as a church in the future. If I'm honest, a lot of these emotions that Pastor John talked about this morning, I'm still sitting in them myself too. A big one is grief. For the entirety of my life, I've had two people I've called pastor. One of them has been my dad, and the other has been Pastor John for the last 15 years. You've been beside me as I've prayed for big things in my life, and you've been there to celebrate them with me. You've also been right there propping me up in the darkest of times too. The other piece is just the uncertainty. I am a planner by nature. I like to know what's coming. If you look at my phone, I could tell you what's on my calendar 2 years from now. That's kind of how I live my life. And this just isn't one of those situations. And that's hard. I don't know exactly how the future is going to unfold. But this I do know. As Christians, we believe in God's sovereignty and that his timing is perfect. He remains present and active here at Journey, and he has an ongoing plan for us as a church that is way beyond anything that one individual, as amazing as he is, could have for us. We also believe this is a great opportunity for Journey to continue to grow and evolve in new ways, and that we should embrace this future with faith, anticipation, and trust, knowing God is the one who's truly leading us. As we look to this future too, it's important for you all to know that we're not alone in this. Journey is part of a greater, multi-state collection of churches known as the Great Lakes region. And they're here with us as well. We as an advisory team actually met with leadership from the region this week and received some counsel on preparing well for this transition, as well as instruction on the best ways to go about searching for a new lead pastor. Coming out of this meeting this week, we as a team have really entered into a stage of prayer and discernment. Asking God specifically about timelines for transitions. What is God's specific plan for the next 3 to 5 years for our church here at Journey? And what kinds of qualities are needed in a new lead pastor to help us get there? Last thing we're praying about is who should be on this search team, a group of people that we'll ask to lead Journey as a church through a process to identify and call our next lead pastor. Especially in this time of discernment, but always, we would just really ask that you would blanket us in prayer. The significance of these decisions, it's not lost on us. We really seek to honor the Lord in the decisions that we make and trust that we're going to move forward with his direction, much like the children of Israel did as they stepped into the river. I know there are several other members of the advisory team here this morning, so I just ask if you'd raise your hand a minute too so people can see where you're at. Through this process, we're committed to transparency. Full transparency, we don't have a lot of answers yet. but we're working on that. And I would say, don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us if you have questions. And I know, too, John and Erica would be more than happy to talk. It's important to remember, as you said, it's not goodbye today. We're in this, and we're going to see this through. And we have some opportunities to spend time with each other, celebrating really the fact that we're all here because previously you followed a dream, and that was to launch Journey Church. This building wouldn't be here, and none of us would be in the room if John hadn't previously done that. And we can believe that God is going to continue to yield fruit from your desire to follow a dream. So, yeah, as we move into this next several month period, we'll just ask that you guys come alongside Pastor John, Erica, their daughters Sydney and Mackenzie, and support them as they continue to discern what's next for them. And same thing for us as an advisory team, that you'd blanket us in on your prayer. And I think specifically 2 things that I'd ask that you be praying for us regularly would be for the Allens, the rest of our Journey pastors and staff, our advisory team, and also start praying for our next lead pastor as we seek clarity and direction regarding God's specific plan for our church and for our future. And I would also ask that you pray for the body of Journey Church as a whole, that we would remain united, focused on our calling in the communities of Middleville, Caledonia, and wherever else we may be, and that we continue to effectively share the good news of the gospel even through this time of transition. Our mission is not done here,
Yep.
and I think
right.
it's just really
That's right.
important that we remember that and continue to stay focused on that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you,
Good.
John.
You preached, Joe. That's good. That's right. Yeah, that's right. You preached, man. I want us to end our time together. Why don't you go ahead and stand? And we normally just speak some words of life over each other. We're going to put a verse on the screen, and it's a little bit of an expanded verse that we were in today. And maybe just let this be our prayer in this time. This is our prayer. Like, this is what we're doing. We're consecrating ourselves, kind of consecrating ourselves to the Lord and what He might be doing, and making ourselves available to Him, so we could continue to see the God-only thing, even in this process, even in this time. God doesn't invite us into time so that He can stop working. He invites us into time so He can keep working, so He can do new things. And so it's just really simply this prayer that you and we together consecrate yourselves, repent of sins, focus attention on Jesus. We're going to make ourselves available for all the Holy Spirit wants to do in and through you, individually, collectively. For tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things. Yes? Tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things. Things that when we see it happen or tell the story of it, we will only be able to say, but God, but God.